Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Experience Kills. This is episode 18 and I'm your host today, Ben, joined by my co-host, Richard.
Yay, he's back again for the
It's a Richard week.
Fortnight in a row.
Yeah,
still
and
well.
You're looking good, man. Looking healthy, unlike me last week, as Rob can attest to, who is in the third chair.
Hello. I'm always here. I'm like part of the furniture at this point. And I did find it quite funny that last week after the show you couldn't remember having actually recorded it.
I couldn't remember like any of the details, about what we'd spoken about or anything, because I was trying to put in certain audio stuff, and I just couldn't remember where any of it came up in the running order. Nothing. It was just like, it was a blur. I was so out of it. That was not pleasant. That was probably the hardest podcast I've ever actually done. I felt so under the weather. But no, all good this week. All feeling good, all healthy and stuff here. Looking forward to talking about news and games. We've got a Game Pass club to do, which has been delayed. Hopefully the next one will actually be in 2 weeks, which was the intention of that feature. And it'll be the first time we actually hit it. Fingers crossed. But I will say, before we get into that, guys, you watching One Division, boys? You watching One Division?
Oh yes. Oh
No,
yes.
not yet.
Not yet,
yeah.
Richard. Are you just waiting? Are you just waiting for them all of them?
I'm not waiting, but we foolishly started Superstore, Sarah and I.
I tried it.
We're well into it.
I think it's too much. It's too much. It hits too close to home for me after working retail for about a decade. Really? So it's just a bit like, oh, this is awkward. So no, I just it's okay. I kind of, as workplace comedies, you know, it's not bad. I'm kind of rewatching The Office right now anyway.
Yes.
So
Well, there are similarities. There's a few characters in there that are ciphers for Office characters. I'm enjoying it, but we're nearing the end of that, so One Division will be next, I'm sure.
Gotta do One Division, man. I mean, there's only 2 more episodes left. There's only 2 more episodes left.
Is there 2 more? I thought it was 3 more.
Well, that was...
Because
what episode number was that?
That was episode 7. They said the last
maybe
3
3 more.
episodes were going to be an hour long, and that was not an hour long.
Okay, maybe 3 more then. Maybe they're going to go to 10. That makes sense, doesn't it? 10's a nice round number.
Considering because of what happened, it's starting to like spice up because of the thing and the reveal. Being careful.
The thing, and the characters, and the actions that happened within, involving said characters.
And the conversations that occurred. This is as non-spoilery as I can make it while still
impossible to
saying
talk about, isn't it?
Deep shit happened.
I mean, I'm just excited that we get like a 2-week break and we go straight into Falcon Winter Soldier.
So,
I can't wait, man. And they just announced that they're and they're doing like a docu series as well, where they're gonna do One Division first, but then they're gonna start going back and like going over the movies and stuff, and like doing new documentaries and stuff around all the MCU and stuff. So I'm really looking forward to that as well.
I thought they were doing. I vaguely remember seeing a running order that was One Division weeks, making of One Division, Falcon and Winter Soldier, making a Falcon and Winter Soldier. It just is now seamlessly just flowing into the next show and the next show and the next show. That just keeps. I
doubt they've got enough to not have to have more substantial breaks, because we know they've only got Loki in the can, in addition to Falcon Winter Soldier. So I don't know if they'll be able to achieve that.
Shang-Chi was included on this running order.
Of all the shows,
I just want to see Black Widow at this point.
Yeah, it's just like,
I'm missing that movie.
Yeah, Feige is all about like, I want to hold on to this so it can come out in the cinema, and it's like, I get it, I do get it, and I really want to see it in the cinema, but at the same time, just give it to us, you prick. I just really, really want to see that film. But yeah, the fact that we're getting
it would be a shame to waste it, though, wouldn't it, on a home release, like with it being a tentpole female lead, first proper one, really. So
That's true.
Captain Marvel. Hello, Captain Marvel. Anyone? Female leads, first proper one. What are you talking about? Black Widow.
Black Widow is arguably more popular than Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel's a really good movie, though, isn't it? Captain Marvel. You like Captain Marvel, don't you, Rob?
It felt like a sort of. It was great, but it felt ancillary to the series almost. And Black Widow's been there for ages.
I suppose Black Widow is an Avenger. You know, an OG Avenger.
Captain Marvel is a bit of an issue because Captain Marvel is now the de facto MacGuffin to solve any problem, because she can take a headbutt from Thanos and shake it off. Like, she is on that power level that, you know, muggers going around New York City, Captain Marvel shows up, they might as well just shit themselves. Like,
I mean, let's not. Let's.
just
I'm
another
honestly,
power level.
I'm honestly bored of this conversation already because it's one of those. So let's
Can we go back to you shitting yourself into amnesia?
as big as for big cosmic threats, roll her out, love it. But yeah,
I know what you're saying, but it's the superhero dichotomy. It's the one that it's existed forever. So yeah, it's they find ways. There's ways around all of that.
indeed.
Right. So yeah, should we do news? Should we go straight into the news and stuff and just start rocking and rolling through here? We've got some good news this week. Right. First of all, guys, I know you're going to be really disappointed, but we've not got any Cyberpunk news.
No, shame.
I'm sorry.
What's going to happen on our weekly shitting on Cyberpunk feature?
I mean,
news. I mean, CDPR,
exactly.
That's what I meant to say there, right?
I did consider making some up, but I thought, I mean, that would be a bit harsh. I mean, what would I have said? You know, Keanu Reeves is now suing Cyberpunk because he played the game and was like, bro, what the fuck? I'd say now he's suing them. Yeah, that's believable, isn't it?
The thing is,
why not?
He's so nice. He would probably turn around and go, "Look, I know you guys tried your best, you know, but I know you can do better." I mean, that's what he would do because he's an amazing guy.
He seems to be a nice guy. And we also don't have any PS5 is a shit show news either. So I'm just disappointed in myself. I should have looked harder. I'm sure there's stuff out there.
I do actually have news related to that sort of thing though. Which I have just remembered now offhand. I can see Ben twitching that I forgot to put it in the show notes.
Fine. Okay.
The UK government are trying to put legislation forward to put a limit on scalpers.
Yeah, no, I did read
Series
that.
X and the PlayStation 5 as a reason behind why this sort of behaviour needs to be like outlawed. I did read an article where someone interviewed a scalper and he said, "We're doing nothing wrong. Tesco buy toilet roll for 26p and sell it for £1. How is that not the same? We're the good guys." And it's just like, oh, jump off the cliff.
We're providing supply to for the demand that's there, and it's like, but he's got a point, and the core point is capitalism.
See,
that is what it is.
But how can scalpers say that they're providing stock when what they're doing is going, "Oh, we bought 200 of them to sell, but those 200 were still available to consumers."
I'm not saying you should support scalpers because it's just stupid. You shouldn't buy from a scalper. However, I don't necessarily think there's a moral or ethical imperative to tell them that they're doing the wrong thing. Not when your entire society is built around that practice. So it's like you can't necessarily slap them for, "Oh, you're just bad people." Well, no, they're just doing what's been provided, and it's like, well, there you go.
And
but just
it is
don't
only
buy
a
from them.
PlayStation. I mean, it's not quite like
food.
The property market where landlords say they're providing a service rather than let people buy their own homes. That's different, isn't it? Because people need to have a home to live. But a PlayStation.
Do not get me started on the housing market. We will be here for an entire...
Yeah, we're not doing that. Not on this podcast, anyway.
No.
I don't have a great deal of tolerance for scalpers. I find it really frustrating being on the hook for one PlayStation.
Look out for our new spin-off show, Experience Sells, which is all going to be about house markets, three old men bitching about how hard it is to get on the market.
Fuck you!
Well, two old men and this young whippersnapper. There you go. No worries. Look out for that. Experience Sells coming soon to the channel. But let's move on to the next bit of news. Rob, you get to find me a link to what we've just discussed so that I can put that in the show notes. So do look that up later on, but thanks very much. But let's move on to the next bit of news, which is the Metro Exodus Enhanced Edition, which is on its way this year. No specific time yet from the guys at 4A, but it's sounding good. It's sounding really hot. 4K, 60, ray tracing throughout. Every light source they've said, basically, is going to be ray traced in Metro Exodus. And this is a game which is very atmospheric already, which is all about darkness and light and different kind of environments and how that plays and affects the player and stuff. So I cannot wait to see this game running with all these bells and whistles on the new hardware and on the fancy PCs that will require it. It's going to be amazing. Now, me and Richard go way back with Metro. Rob, have you had any experience with Metro?
Nope, the series has never appealed.
Okay, well, Rob is quite stuck in his ways.
Sorry.
You like first-person shooters, don't you? I mean, I think you have a good time with that.
Yes, you're both going to kill me for this, which is why I'm glad that we aren't doing this face to face. I like good first person shooters.
Oh, I mean, they're a bit janky, no doubt, but they try and do stuff that's different and original, which is where I think they really stand out in their settings and their approach, because they've got that very Eastern European, ex-Soviet bloc feel to them. Obviously, the games are all set in Russia, in the Metro system, strangely enough, hence the game. They're based on some really good books, and they're narrative heavy. And the last one, Exodus, was their kind of departure into a more open world experience with these kind of 4 distinct open environments. They're really cool. They're really different.
I did just want to point out I am completely taking the piss and not serious when I've said I like good shooter games. Like, I am completely taking the piss. Like, but in a way, it is a very good and healthy franchise. It has lots of fans, and they are wildly popular. So this is great news for fans of that franchise. It's just not.
In a way, though, you're not wrong. They're certainly not as polished as a Call of Duty or as a Halo or stuff like that.
Call of Duty is not a good shooter game.
Okay, right. I don't know where you're coming from at this point. Then, so let's just say this is some good news. And
this is very good news. Yes.
I'm not even sure what he's talking about now, Richard. Have you got any ideas?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just glad it's going to give me an excuse to go back to it, because again, this is one of those games that I bought at launch and just haven't put much time into at all. So I'll go back to it with all the bells and whistles. That sounds fun.
And it will always.
I wonder if it'll still be on Game Pass though. It's on Game Pass now, right? Or has it gone off?
I lose track. I know some of them are. I can't remember which ones the Metro games are on Game Pass. Possibly Exodus. Yeah, I think it was added. Yeah, I think it is still on there. I don't think I've seen it come off. Have I? I'm not sure I've seen it come off. But does that technically mean you own it? Does that technically mean you get the free enhanced edition because you're an owner if you've got the game through Game Pass? I mean, I wonder how they'll look at all of that anyway. But it'll always have a soft spot in my heart, because we launched Experience Kills off the back of the hands-on preview event I went to for Metro Exodus in London. So that's like a thing for me. That will always be
that's cool.
A nice memory in relation to Metro Exodus. They fed me really well at that event. So. Let's move on.
I didn't know, but you told me all about it.
I did. There was no bitterness. You were invited, Richard. You were invited. You could have come. I'm just saying, you were busy.
I take offence that you didn't invite me, despite the fact you didn't know me at the time.
Yeah, I'll next time I'll pop in my DeLorean and sort that out, Rob. Even though you don't like Metro games or good shooters, which Call of Duty is not one of. I don't know. Whatever that means. Right.
Hey, you're the one that brought up Call of Duty, not me. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm so confused. Microsoft announces some new games coming to Game Pass in February. Who's got it open so that they can do the rundown of what they are? Because I don't have it in front of me right now. But I can't even remember what they were at this point. Anyone? Anyone?
I do. Yes.
Oh, well done.
So on February the 18th, which was 2 days ago, we had Code Vein hit Game Pass for PC. Also, we had Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire Ultimate Edition on console and the cloud on the 18th as well. And Bugbear's Car Smash 'em Up Wreckfest on console, PC, and cloud. On the 23rd of February, platformer Killer Queen Black hits Game Pass on console and cloud. And on the 25th, Dirt 5 hits Xbox Game Pass on console, PC, and cloud.
Nice. That's a cool one, because I think if you're running a Series X, that's a pretty good showcase for the power of your console, even though it has some really poorly defined graphical settings in the menus. Trying to actually work out what does what in that game is kind of confusing. It does have some incredible mud effects if you're running a 4K TV and if you like your driving games. I'm going to check out Wreckfest. That's kind of been on my on-again, off-again list for quite a while, because I do love a bit of Destruction Derby from back in the PS1 days, and it looks like the closest we've got to that on the modern hardware as well. And Pillars of Eternity is really good as well.
I'm not done. Cool. There's more.
There's more?
Yes.
There's more?
Yes. Also on the 25th of February, Frontier's Space Epic Elite Dangerous hits Xbox Game Pass on console, and Super Hot Mind Control Delete comes onto the PC Game Pass.
Tell you what, fellas.
Elite wasn't on Game Pass?
Nope.
No.
Oh, wow, okay. I thought it was.
That could be a Game Pass club contender.
Not this week, because it's my pick.
Not this week. Multiplayer, isn't it? We could.
No, is it?
See,
yes, it is.
I tried Elite Dangerous and I couldn't make my controller work. Yeah, it just didn't pick up any input. It was nuts.
That's
Perhaps
not good.
they've repackaged it and updated it, and I could try it again.
I have owned Elite Dangerous and its various expansion packs for many years now, and have yet to find a way into that game that keeps my attention for more than about an hour. It's one of those things where you look at it and you go, you know what? If you dedicate some time, you're going to love that. It's going to be amazing. But
a friend of mine, he loves Elite Dangerous. He plays it like religiously at some points, but he plays it in VR.
Ooh, wow.
And that is another level, because you can have like a podcast screen going up there. You've got another screen going up there as you're cruising through space, and he loves it. So
pretty cool.
Yeah,
that sounds incredibly immersive and possibly vomit-inducing, though. If you're in a dogfight spinning around,
incredibly immersive.
Well, you want that vomit. If you want fully immersed, you need the vomit. I think that's an important part of immersion.
Moving on from excretions, in sad news, we do have some games leaving Game Pass this month. So on the 24th...
Oh, I was like, what's happened? And I was worried there. You said it's sad news. I was like, games leaving Game Pass, whatever.
Oh, no, it's called a segue, Ben. That's just professional podcasting.
I thought somebody had died or something. Anyway, carry on.
Anyway, starting that line again. On the 24th of Feb, Dirt 4 is leaving because it's being replaced by Dirt 5 the next day. And on the 28th of February, Momodora, Reverie Under the Moonlight, Mother Russia Bleeds, Oxenfree, the Jackbox Party Pack 4, try saying that after you've had a few, and Vambrace Cold Soul are all leaving Game Pass.
So out of those, Oxenfree is a pretty cool little game, which I would recommend giving a go at if you're in the mood for sort of a bit of a supernatural, dialogue-heavy teens, drama thing. If you like Stranger Things, kind of before Stranger Things, actually predated Stranger Things. It's actually quite a cool little game. That the only one from that list that I haven't played that
it's perennially on sale. Though,
always.
You can get Oxenfree for like £1 most months.
And then the only one from that list that I haven't played that I wish I'd got around to playing, which maybe I'll still give a go, is Vambrace Cold Soul, which I believe is like a tactical turn-based combat type RPG experience. I think I could be wrong. I haven't played it, but yeah, so I might check that out before it leaves Game Pass completely. But yeah, good ones this month though. Some good stuff there. Yeah. Dirt 5 is huge. I think that's a really cool addition to that list for people that haven't played it. If you're in the mood for a very accessible racing game, and it looks damn good too. Though I have kind of bounced off of it. It definitely feels a bit like you're doing the same thing again and again and again. And I know it's a racing game, so that would be expected, but like there's not a huge amount of variety in the courses. And while they look different, the races very rarely feel different. Once you put a lot of time into that. And I have played a lot of it. I did put a good 20 hours into it, I guess, in total for a racing game. So that's quite a bit. But I still think it's a real impressive look to it. I mean, and in related news, talking about Codemasters, I mean, the fact is that they're looking down the barrel of this acquisition now by who ended up buying them? It was EA, wasn't it? Was it EA? No, it wasn't EA. I can't remember who ended up buying them now, but always going to buy them, and they're talking about making them, yearly installments of all their games, basically. So expect Dirt 6 very soon. I'm a little bit worried about
slightly muddier.
I'm a bit concerned about what that means for
It is EA.
The F1 games. It is EA. It was. It just seems like an odd one for EA because they've already. Well, yeah, but let me finish because they've already acquired a lot of racing developers. Like they bought Criterion, for example, right, to take over the Need for Speed games, and they dropped Burnout from their library. They didn't really care about continuing that, but they bought them for Need for Speed, and then they've kind of failed. Like the Need for Speed games have not been great and have not captured the audience. I mean, the last one was actually pretty good, but it didn't really hook on. So I guess they're hoping that Codemasters are going to bring a bit more of a sim focus to the racing experiences rather than arcadey, and bring that audience base. But we'll just have to see what happens there. I hope they just don't go the way of so many developers acquired by EA, which is vanished into history. Right, let's move on to this next bit of news, which is actually quite exciting. I love a bit of hardware, and Microsoft this week announced a new fully wireless Xbox headset, which looks like the bomb for the price. Basically, 90 quid, $100. This is full wireless, no dongle, so it will connect in the same way as your controller does to the console. It's got all the kind of high-end features you would expect from a from a sort of wireless headset with retractable microphones, separate volume control and party chat controls on the ear cups, 15 hours of battery life, high quality, comfortable ear cups, good quality audio drivers. It kind of, the thing that was really exciting to me is reading the specifications and looking at the video of it and the build quality, and that seems to be on display. Obviously, I've not had my hands on it yet, though it's coming out very shortly in March. It seems to be one of the headset that's kind of offering similar feature compatibility. So some of those kind of headsets you see for about 180, 190, 200 pounds. And it's coming at almost £100 less than those type of competitors, which is really interesting to see. So the concern there is this just Microsoft undercutting, or is it that there's going to be some, noticeable performance difference in this headset's quality, in its audio reproduction or whatever, and that sort of thing. So I do think at that price, though, it's a very, very interesting. And I've put my pre-order down.
This headset
you're getting one. You don't need a headset. You've got plenty of them.
I do need a headset because literally I've been looking at picking up one for a while because the ones I've been using have all gone kaputski in the last couple of months. Other than the last one I received and did a review of, the kind of very entry-level one, which is absolutely perfect for that. I want something that's wireless because what I'm noticing, the biggest problem is that connection between the controller and the headset with the wired cable is the bit that often causes the problems. That's where you get, either a dodgy jack in the controller or the wire starts to disconnect a little bit and cause connectivity issues. And I've noticed that now with a couple of different headsets that I've got. So going wireless, obviously it cuts out that point of weakness. So I was looking at these expensive, Steel Series and stuff.
Where you've got to charge it though, mate.
It does, and that's
a new weakness.
That is a good point, and I'm sure that's going to happen.
This headset is going to live and die on its audio quality.
Yeah,
it can be wireless till it's blue in the face, but if it's terribly sounding audio and it's terrible at picking up mic audio, then this headset's done for. I don't think that's going to be the case because I remember on the Xbox 360 days we had like the wireless headsets, like little Bluetooth headset things that sat on your ear. Sorry, I have a cat trying to baby himself on me at the moment.
So cute.
I know. And I had two of those. I loved those. I'd charge one and use the other and then swap between them. This is going to live and die on the audio quality because back then it was great. It has to compete with things to be a good budget alternative to something like Sennheiser's and SteelSeries headsets and that sort of thing, because otherwise people are just going to go, well, I've spent 450 quid on a console, I'll spend 180 quid on a better headset. Do
you think they will? I mean, I reckon there's a good proportion of people that will go for the official option.
Yeah.
Especially at that price, if it's half the price of the competition. I've bought a new headset recently. I got the LX50s from Lucid Sound, and they're really good, but it's like 240 quid. So if I'd known this was coming, I'd maybe have given it a look at least, if it does the same job.
I have been wanting to buy a wireless headset for a little while now, and I'm now not until I buy this one. Well, until Ben buys it, reviews it, and finds out how good quality it is.
I promise, as soon as it comes through the door, we will be playing some Destiny, and that'll be the test. I mean, the other nice thing that this does that the third-party ones don't do is this will interact with the accessories app, which will allow even more fine-tuning of the audio settings on the Xbox itself. So you'll be able to do sort of software control and really, get it where you want. It's going to support the Dolby DTS. It's going to support the Sonic Sound stuff, and I think there's another one as well, which I'm not aware of off the top of my head. All of those apps. So if you're into that kind of ecosystem as well, like I said, it's got those little QRL stuff that I really like the retractable microphone. So you haven't got to detach it, but it's just going to sit back against the cup and stuff like that, which I think are nice little tweaks. It's going to be about sound quality and comfort for me. I almost rate comfort of a headset higher than sound quality because I take a cut in that sound quality if I can feel comfortable wearing that headset for 3 or 4 hours without getting earache or headache or pressure on the top of my head, or if they're heavy and stuff like that. And I've noticed that certain headsets like the Lucid Sound, because that's what the other one I was using until it started playing up on me. The Lucid Sounds are really flipping heavy, because they've got this metal construction, and while they feel really tough and durable, they're also like some of the heaviest headsets on the market, and I start to really feel the pressure on the top of my head here, where the band sits. Even though it's all padded, it just starts to physically hurt. I noticed that with the lucid sounds I had, where it's just after a few hours. So it's that sort of comfort element. It's the cutest cat in the world, isn't it, Rich?
Yeah.
It's just
That's beautiful.
right.
You were talking about lucid
But
sound.
yeah.
Most of it went over my head because him. But should we go on to the other bit of Xbox news before we progress?
Go for it.
So Xbox this week. Also, there was quite a couple of announcements from them this week. They announced an FPS boost for their series consoles for Xbox One games, for their back compat catalogue that they're going to start progressing through. So there are 5 games.
Tell you what,
on this.
I'm sorry. Before you list the games, Rob. Before you list the games, I find this terminology so confusing sometimes. Right. So they're calling Xbox One games, right, back compat onto the Series X. I just don't see that line. Like, it's so confusing to call Far Cry 4, which was an Xbox One game, as backwards compatible on my Series X and S.
But it is.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, I know what you mean, but to me, I know what you mean. But to me, there are no Series X and S games. There's like 2. There's Observer and maybe one other, like Observer Redux, and one other game that can only play on Series S and X. So what you're saying? Everything else in that library that works, those Xbox One games, are you're back compat with your Series X and S. That was one of their selling points.
I know it was. It's back compatible with everything on the Xbox One.
Yes, I understand, but the problem for me is that they have sort of set out their stall that generations aren't a thing anymore, guys. It all just works unless it suits them, and then they can come out and go, "Oh no, this is enhancement for these back compat games because it makes more sense from a marketing perspective to talk about them in that way." And I just find, like, either have the line or don't have the line, you know?
The alternative, though, is to talk about those games as enhanced games, which doesn't make any sense because the Xbox Series X and Series S games, you're right, predominantly they are just enhanced versions of existing Xbox One games. What we're talking about here is games that have not been enhanced for Series X per se, but have just been given a lick of paint to increase the frame rate. We've had that already, haven't we? There are some games that naturally increase frame rate. Stuff like Sekiro stands out.
If you've got if it's an unlocked frame rate.
It's an unlocked frame rate in the game. These games are different because they had a fixed frame rate, which has now been adapted to be boosted on series consoles.
This is amazing. This is incredible. Don't get me wrong. I was just quibbling over terminology, and it does my head in. This is the problem with this generation. Sony and Microsoft both. A fucking mess. It's a fucking mess. So I'll leave it at there, and we'll move on.
I don't know why you'd focus on that. I mean, we've got some improved games. It's an odd selection of games.
It's a very weird collection. I will now proceed to list the games after Ben permits me to do so, the backwards compatible games. So we've got Far Cry 4, Watchdogs 2. Like, Ben's going to kill me after this. Sniper Elite 4, I believe. New Super Lucky's Tale and UFC 4.
It is a weird list.
Very weird list. I think they've tried to hit every genre of game except racing.
Yeah.
They're all quite fringe, aren't they?
Yeah.
Watch Dogs that's a fairly core franchise, isn't it?
I don't recall Watch Dogs 2.
It's an old one.
I don't recall Watch Dogs 2 getting particularly great reception.
The one of the weird ones there is Watch Dogs 2, which is a 900p game, right? Which is really strange to me. Like, couldn't bring myself to play that again now. That just seems bizarre. That's just going to look like dog shit, even with your frame rate improvement. Annoyingly, Watch Dogs 2 actually got a pro enhancement on the PlayStation platform, but they didn't do an enhancement for the One X, so that it never even got a resolution bump. So that's why it's still 900p, but running now a higher frame rate. So what I tried Far Cry 4. I downloaded Far Cry 4 again to give it a whirl, and yes, it is like. So what can we pull out from this article what the Far Cry 4 enhancement actually was?
We haven't actually said what they've done yet, We've quibbled about terminology,
Yeah, we mentioned frame rate.
said the name and mentioned frame rate, but we've not actually said what
Richard
they've
talked
done.
about frame rate. Yeah, but the problem is there's no easy way of describing it because it isn't just doubling, because they're all different for each game, the actual enhancements. So we kind of need to pull the specific enhancements out of the article, because it isn't just they're all 30, they're now all 60. There is a variety of things that they've done on a game by game basis, which is actually the coolest thing about it. It's that they aren't just trying to do some blanket one shoe fits all enhancement, are they? They're actually putting the work in on a game by game to get the most out of the experience.
Essentially,
So
what
I
they've
think
done.
A weird phrase. One shoe. Who wants one shoe?
that is a saying, I believe, isn't it? One. I don't know. Did I just make that up?
I missed the saying completely because I was looking for the brief. Basically, in PR from Microsoft, Xbox team talked about doubling performance at the basic level. That's exactly what they've done with these games. At the base level, in the simplest terms, they have increased the performance on these 5 games up to 120 FPS at 1080p for 1 or 2 of them. But they've essentially magnified how well these games perform to varying degrees, which I think is a very good precedent to start with to test. So let's now go back to Far Cry 4 and then let's see what numbers it's now pulling, because it was originally locked to like 30 FPS and it performed quite well. How did you find it now that it's been boosted, Ben?
Yeah, it's noticeably smoother. Was there a frame rate, a resolution bump in it as well? Because I don't know if it's just me. I mean, the other thing that I think stands out is I hadn't played Far Cry 4 on my Series X or S until now, and the other thing, of course, that it's got is the auto HDR thing going on, which is one of the features that works across everything. So that, coupled with this improved frame rate, the game looked really nice and it was really smooth to play. And I think in an open world shooter like that, it's one of those things you're gonna notice quite readily, because it's one of those kind of contiguous experiences. I think it played really good. I mean, I don't love that game, but what they did to it was impressive. Yeah. So I think this is super impressive what they're doing.
There was no resolution bump. It's capped at 1440 by 1080, but they have doubled the frame rate from 30 to 60.
So it's 1440. Interesting.
1440 by 1080.
So
yeah, it's
good news.
well behaved.
I mean, the fact that it's kind of an odd list is even better news in a way, because it points to them rolling this out to a whole slew of games, no matter their popularity or relevance. They're just doing it, to sort of safeguard the library, aren't they? I don't think anyone's doing as much as Microsoft are to preserve games.
And with Watchdogs,
that's essentially what this is. It's future-proofing them for the next gen, isn't it? It's keeping them relevant now.
With Watchdogs 2, they doubled the FPS from 30 to 60 again, and it never drops below 60 apparently. But like you said before, the 900p that grates, and it is noticeable, and it's not pretty.
I mean, it was noticeable before these enhancements.
Yeah.
I did have a go at it on the One X, and it was like, oh, this stands out. Like it just stands out now when you're playing so much in 4K that when you play something in 900, it's just like, holy crap, just old like that. I think interesting that this is going to become the thing, isn't it? That sets the generations apart. It's going to be resolution and frame rate. So you're going to start getting so spoiled by 60 at 4K that whenever you play a 30 at 1080, you're going to just be like, oh my god. This is dog shit.
It's one of the reasons I stopped playing Destiny on my Xbox. Is because I wasn't getting the same frame rates as I was on my PC, so playing on my PC was nicer. So I stopped playing it on the Xbox architecture. Now, that's better with the next-gen updates. So
flipping incredible.
But I understand that pain. I understand that confusion. I've gone through the article, and they have, on all of these games, double performance at minimum. So
cool.
It's soon going to become an expectation when people play these things and they roll it out to more and more. We're going to see that expectation on games at launch.
So they were teasing, and this isn't like a news story because it's just not worth it because there's no news yet. But there was, I believe, an interview with Larry, on the Major Nelson podcast. Larry Herb, Microsoft Xbox PR guru, as we've all known him for now bloody forever. How many years has he been doing that job? It's incredible. But he was talking to some of the guys behind the Xbox Series X and S architecture, and they were talking about how there's a lot coming this year that's going to really start to unlock and show off the capabilities of this new hardware, which speaks to a couple of things. That it's great that we're getting stuff, but also, this shit came in super hot. I think we're quite lucky that it's as stable as it is on the Xbox side of things. Obviously, PlayStation has a lot of problems with their actual hardware's reliability and OS, which is causing lots of issues right now. So I think we're very lucky, and I think them being less ambitious with what they launched with was actually, and played it safe, was quite smart in that regard. But I think indicative of the fact that this hardware probably needed another 6 to 8 months, like really cooking with the OS and stuff and getting things ready. But they had to get it out when they got it out. Lockdown affected a lot of things.
Yeah.
But there's a lot coming this year. So I think this is the beginning of it. And I think they've got some aggressive plans to really show off what this new hardware can do and the capabilities of the Velocity architecture. With all
of the backward compatible Xbox One games in their library as well.
Stop calling them that. It's so confusing. I hate it, Jimmy. I hate it. It's so annoying.
But they are. Anyway.
They are, but it just goes against everything that they used to promote around the launch.
No,
it just really
it doesn't.
It does.
It doesn't.
The whole idea is that
they said everything was backwards compatible with the Xbox One stuff. It was a marketing point.
Why talk about a generationless hardware when you then talk about generations of games? It makes no sense to me.
Your brain hurts me. Anyway, that's the last Xbox.
I'll just remind you, Metro's not a good shooter, but neither's Call of Duty. So just want
to
brought
Call of Duty up.
Just want to talk about brains that hurt. That's a little callback there. Right, let's talk. Hey guys, do you remember this game that came out last year? People were really looking forward to it. There was some controversy, but it was this huge, connected license to a big film property. It was called Marvel's Avengers. Do you guys remember Marvel's Avengers?
It wasn't connected.
Do you remember when that game?
Property.
It was connected.
No, it was split hardline from the movie property because they didn't use the licenses.
You two bicker so much since I've been away.
I just wanted to get the news out, and he's just arguing with me. Yeah, I'm getting it. I'm sorry, Richard. He's being very argumentative today. But no. So what I'm trying to say is that this game came out and it had issues, and then basically sank beneath the waves very rapidly. Didn't it? It just disappeared, and nobody carried on playing it. I beat the single player as a gas games as a service. Nobody cared, and one of the big things I think that put me off was that they would Series X and PS5 enhanced at launch, and then that got delayed, and it's just like, well, that might have kept me moderately interested if that had happened, but it didn't, and now we've been told finally that's coming on the 18th of March with the second Hawkeye character, which is the weirdest post-release launch plans I've ever seen, which is, here's Kate Bishop, Hawkeye, and now here's Clint Barton, Hawkeye. It's just like, what's your obsession with the dudes and dudettes with bows? I don't know what that's about.
I believe they were going to put Black Panther in there first, but decided against it after Chadwick Boseman's sad passing. Yeah.
But even then, if it had been Black Panther, like Hawkeye, Black Panther, Hawkeye, that would have still been strange. Yeah. I still don't understand why. I guess it's easier to work out bow gameplay for two characters at once rather than not, I suppose.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, so the enhancement is coming, which is going to be up to 4K resolution, improved frame rate, all of that sort of stuff. Will that make me go back and play this game? Probably not.
I've not completed the single player yet, so I probably will.
I never bought it. I'm waiting for a decent sale because it keeps coming on sale, but it's still just too expensive for something that nobody seems to like. I'm curious though. Do you want to try it?
They should have made it a tie-in to the films. They should have made it using the licensed voices because then it would have been more successful, I think.
But that would have cost them how much? Imagine trying to get Robert Downey Jr. to do voice work for a game. I mean, Christ.
Well, the alternative is to change the art style, too late now, but they could have done the art style differently so it didn't feel like it had to have the same likenesses. if it was more cartoony.
Like lent harder onto like a comic book aesthetic or something. Yeah. No, I know what you mean. It trod a weird middle ground, didn't it? I actually quite liked how they ended up with the characterization and the acting in it, and I think they do a good job. It's just that it takes a good few hours of playing it to like divorce yourself from this is weird. There's no Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. and like
where's
Mark Ruffalo.
What?
Yeah, it's really peculiar. And then finally you kind of step away from it, and you get into the whole Kamala Khan stuff, and she really grew on me, and I think they handled that character really, really well. As a character, I remember talking about this at the time. I just could not care less about that character, and by the end of that game, I really did care about that character. So I thought they did a very good job with that. So there's some really good stuff in there, but it was the whole idea of making it games as a service. So it was just so misjudged. Just so misjudged, and then full of technical problems, like to do with actually playing in multiplayer at launch. It was broken. It was just broken matchmaking. It didn't work. So yeah, and understandable. Launches like that are difficult, especially with a lot of player base. But at the same time, if you're going to build everything around games as a service, it needs to work. It needs to work. Otherwise, you're just going to lose the vast majority of your player base, which is what's happened with this game. I'm amazed they're still supporting it, frankly.
And they haven't just Anthem right here.
Yeah, 100%. It is very Anthem, unfortunately.
Have we heard a decision about Anthem? Because I heard a few weeks ago that
it's gone very quiet.
Yeah, there was going to be some decision made about whether to carry it forward or
apparently
just bin it off.
That decision was meant to be made on Thursday, and no decision has been made public yet. So either they're carrying on or it's just gonna die, which makes me sad if it does.
I hadn't heard about it being this week. That's interesting. But like, I do remember seeing that stuff that came out, was it like a few weeks, month or so ago, about what Anthem Next 2.0 looked like, some UI stuff.
Yeah,
and
we featured that on the news.
That looked cool. Yeah, it looked all right. And it was like, right direction. But like, now they're actually like, I guess there was a pitch meeting and stuff. And it was like, Casey Hudson's left again now and it's sort of thing. And it's like, are they actually going to continue committing resources to this? Or is it not worth it, I wonder?
They didn't have a very large team working on it, so it could be they've decided just to let those guys stop.
Half a dozen people, I get the impression. It was like tiny, wasn't it?
I think I seem to remember it was either 10 or 20 people inside EA were working on Anthem. That was it.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, if they're in a position where they're deciding whether to kill it or revive it, then it just needed that small team as a sort of proof of concept. This is what we can do with it if you invest in the game again. But I don't know. We'll see.
I don't care anymore. I've got Mass Effect Legendary Edition on the horizon. That's all I care about out of BioWare. Yeah. The rest can fucking swivel. Like, seriously, I don't care anymore. I just don't.
It's been so long though that if it did come back, it would feel new. It would feel new again to a lot of people if they did enough with it.
Siri activated because I said swivel. I think she got excited. That was weird.
Swivel.
Sorry about that.
That's made my morning. That comment right there.
No, but I mean, like, that's the thing. Like what Richard said. If Anthem's coming back, it's really like a huge product relaunch. It's almost like a new game at this point. Surely it needs to have a huge, the amount of marketing and like build up for it. And otherwise, what's the point? I mean, the player base is next to zero, so you're not doing it for them. You're doing it to hope to capture new players at this point, aren't you? I mean, so I don't know how you position that, because every news outlet would just be completely fixated on the disaster it was before.
I think
so. How you get away from that?
Scrap Anthem, redo.
Maybe just do Anthem 2.
Yeah.
Like, you just leave Anthem, you just do Anthem 2 with all the things you've learned, all the improvements, and you hope that grabs the people. Yeah, that comes back. Yeah, I don't know. That's a really tricky one. Did you see this silly story about Valve banning the developer because they were called Very Positive? And I thought that was an amazing attempt on the part of this company to try and garner some fake sales just based off of the name that they were Very Positive. I just think it's really silly that was even possible to create that and in the first place, and that somehow that didn't get stopped. Very Positive developer. Yeah, I love it. Review manipulations.
They were banned because of, like you said, review manipulations, but that's not the reason at all. But it's a wonderful little name they did there. I really did enjoy that little piece of news.
I just threw that in because I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
I have to say, it's not really
very
much
good.
to talk about, but it is funny.
See, we don't always bicker, Richard. We agree.
Well, that's nice.
Sometimes we are like we've been called an old married couple a couple of times at this point, Richard. It is,
We have?
Have you?
yeah. Cameron referred to us as that, and I've even had it from my actual wife. I'm not sure that's a good sign. Let's move on to it's not news, but if you haven't watched it, the show notes are in the links on the YouTube channel and on the podcast. Please check out the trailer for the new Mortal Kombat movie, because I watched it in the week, and Rob and Richard literally just watched it, so they can give us our hot takes before the show. They partook of this. Now, Rob, you don't have the strongest affinity for Mortal Kombat, do you?
No.
What did you think?
I was more of a Soul Calibur fighter game person when I was growing up. It looks very much like a movie that you sit down, put it on, turn your brain off, and enjoy the 2.5 hour, however long the runtime is, of that movie. It looks like brainless combat fight scenes. Fun. That's what it looks like. There'll be some sort of general overarching story, but I'm not expecting huge complexities from this, but I'm expecting it to be solidly good. Just
I like that.
Turn your brain off and enjoy.
Huge complexities. It's a treatise on Johnny Cage's sycophantic desire to be the most famous man on the planet. And it's like, you know what? I'd love to know what huge complexities we could get out of a Mortal Kombat movie. I want to see that film. I want to see Jim Jarmusch's take on Mortal Kombat, or Spike Lee. Can we get someone like that directing it, please? That would be incredible.
I think we are going to see
it'd be complexities with a K, wouldn't it? Huge complexities.
Yes, I love it. Yes, this is what we want.
I think every mainline character will have some sort of move from one of the games in their repertoire somewhere that you will have to either keep an eye out for or will be blatantly obvious. So
I like how you're hedging your bets so widely. They'll have a move that might have been in a game.
Yeah. Isn't in the trailer there's a scene where Sub-Zero throws someone through an ice wall? That's from one of the games, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Many.
So I'm assuming that's going to be replicated across more characters.
So weird.
I don't understand why this is funny.
Mortal Kombat's got moves, hasn't it?
Well, it's just because it's like you clearly haven't played the games, and that's why it's funny, Rob. And it's just like it's just this incredible I will cover this news, even though I have
You asked my opinion.
I did. No, I
I'm
didn't.
giving the opinion.
I thought you would have said, I don't really care for these games. Like, I don't really care for Metro Exodus. But it was kind of like, instead, I'm going to double down on the moves.
Honestly, I get the shit ripped out of me for not being keen on Metro. Now, when I am trying to give something a good try...
I'm not trying to rip the shit out of you. I'm not trying to rip the piss. It just was funny. It was genuinely funny. I really liked it. Right. What blows me away is every time a video game trailer comes out like this, that's half decent, right? Every article is, will this be the first good video game movie? Is this going to be the one? Will this be the one that's a real film? And it's like, no. It's going to be shit, but it'll be entertaining shit like the vast majority of the ones that have come before. I mean, this falls very, very squarely for me in the same camp as the Monster Hunter trailer. It's like, I expect that film to be dumb, stupid entertainment in the same way as this will be stupid entertainment in the same way as the last Doom movie was dumb and stupid. I mean, look, the real hopes are... the real hope for me is probably the Uncharted movie, and then maybe the Last of Us TV show. I think, Richard, you have not been here for the updates on the Borderlands casting. I don't know if you've been keeping up to date with that, but that is some of the craziest news. Some of the people that are going to be in that, oh my god. I still think it's an April Fool's joke, but anyway. But that's not going to be a good movie either. I mean, but that's not what you want. You want it to be recognizable if you're a fan and entertaining if you're not. And it's not like you're expecting it to be some kind of like we said, the complexities is directed by Spike Lee's Mortal Kombat movie. It's just Jax sat like, what is it to have no arms? are they doing ableist casting? That's what I want to know. Did they cast someone with no arms for that role? That's important to me. And it's just kind of like, what do you expect? It's gonna be shit. It's gonna be funny shit. It's like I want to see, get over here, which we got in the trailer. I want to see, ice as a weapon, which we got in the trailer. We probably got all the best bits in the trailer. Let's be honest. So let's just see what the rest of it is. I'm looking forward to it. That's one I can watch at home, though. I don't need to go to the cinema for that. So.
I think I kind of would. As soon as the Cineworld's open and I can get my subscription going again, I'd watch that in the cinema.
You're gonna be there.
So much.
You're there as the Mortal Kombat fan. You got your checklist, and it's just like, did it have moves? Yes.
I swear. Well, in our pre-show warm-up, I called them fucking fatalities, and that was wrong. So I changed my dictionary to moves. Jesus wept.
Do you want to do the next story, Rob?
Yeah, so this is a sad news story. This is an irritating news story. Ubisoft has warned that some beta invite emails for Far Cry 6 are phishing scams. They are not doing a beta for Far Cry 6 in this fashion. Do not sign up for it if something like this has arrived in your inbox. It's wrong, it's false, don't try.
So the bit from this that kind of like made me grin in a slightly sadistic way, I suppose, was that these emails seem to be specifically targeting influencers / YouTube journalists and gamers. Like, not just that, they're not going out to the public so much as the people that caught this was like some streamer. Like, was like, oh, I've been invited, and it's like playing on their gotta be first mentality to almost like screw them over. And it's just sort of like, well, that says a lot about that person to a degree, doesn't it? And it's like, it says a lot about how these phishing people are targeting as well. It's like, it's quite smart, because I guess they almost wanted it to go under the radar for as long as possible, so you don't make it go public. You do target these specific streamers and YouTube gamers and stuff like that, and go after them.
That's a bit harsh, though, Ben. I mean,
I just thought it was I just thought it was interesting and slightly amusing that how many of them fell for it, because they're just that FOMO, that gotta be first attitude, which pervades so much of the video game coverage on the internet. So I think that
you say that as if it's wrong. There's nothing wrong with someone who spends a lot of time playing video games wanting to play a game early. That's natural.
But it's not necessarily about somebody who plays a lot of video games as a fan. It's more about, I want to make sure I get the views on my channel by playing this game first. So there is a greed element at play, is what I'm talking about. There is a desire to make money off of this content, which is not something Experience Kills does. So I think
Cyberpunk.
That's all we talk about here. So when there isn't any, we'll spend time talking about how there isn't any. What are your thoughts, Rob, on this?
It's a really crappy move from people who are trying to do this. It's one of those things. It's good that Ubisoft are warning people, and hopefully it doesn't catch many, because apparently the virus that the link that you click on installs, it records everything you look at, and all of your screens. It records everything. So that could be potentially embarrassing and career-ending.
Yeah, sure. I mean, absolutely. But I mean, it's like, it's the same thing as in any situation like this. Just be careful what you click on, what you're looking at, and don't necessarily believe something if it sounds too good to be true. Probably is, So it's I've had a few of those emails from those Nigerian princes, and frankly, never fallen for one of them. See, it does sound good though. I'd have those 500,000, please. Thank you.
I always have the headcanon.
So proud of yourself. You're so proud of yourself. I've never fallen for that.
I always have this headcanon that there's actually a Nigerian prince somewhere sat there, but perhaps not in Nigeria, somewhere in Africa, going, "I'm trying to help people and no one replies."
I've seen that as a sketch on some sketch comedy show. I've seen that done, and it is very funny. And finally, final piece of news that happened. This happened literally like last night, so I only just put this on the notes. So I don't know if you guys have seen it, but we had the opening ceremony from BlizzCon, and Blizzard showed off some stuff. I guess to me personally, the only kind of really interesting bit is the confirmation of the remake of Diablo 2, and how they are really not touching the gameplay at all. It's a kind of full visual up-res, which look pretty good, I guess, but like you're going to be limited from perspective, and you're going to be limited from the fact that you don't want to touch the gameplay, and then you're going to be able to do that thing like you could with the anniversary edition of Halo, and on the fly switch between the visual styles. It's coming this year, and it's coming to consoles as well. There's going to be up to 8-player online co-op, though no local co-op, and it looked good. I don't know if you guys saw the trailer or anything, but it looked kind of what I expected. I mean, like I said, you're limited as to what you can do. It does seem like a bit of a palette swap and not much else, but it's all right.
It's all right. I would rather wait for Diablo 4.
Well, the Rogue class is coming to Diablo 4, which was announced at this ceremony as well. Does that mean much to you?
No, because I'm more of a magic type user, really. But interesting. We need to see what other classes come to it. I would rather wait for a game like that than a remaster or something like that. What I'm really enjoying, I'm looking at the show notes article now, the link that we've got in there is from Kotaku, and one of the entries on here is Metallica played a song. It was fine. I
mean, that's fair, isn't it?
Yeah, just as an entry, that's tickled me.
I mean, the Burning Crusade expansion is coming to WoW Classic. I really can't think of anything less interesting. But I am not a WoW Classic player.
Yeah.
So, sorry, maybe feel like I felt like last week.
Is it a stupid question? What's the point of World of Warcraft Classic? Why would you want to play that?
So, there was a large portion of the WoW player base clamoured for it for a long time. You know, to have the ability to go back to, you know, the nostalgia, rose-tinted glasses of what brought them probably into gaming, and certainly into WoW back many years ago.
I get why people would want to see it just as that's what it used to be like. But is anyone really playing it properly?
I think you underestimate the compulsion of WoW fans. Like true hardcore WoW fans, they live this stuff. So I think it's
still making good money for them, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, I do think it's ironic that they're bringing that expansion to it, because what is WoW Classic now going to be like on the same development path as WoW was then?
Yeah.
So it's going to eventually stop being WoW Classic. I don't really understand that. Back. Yeah, exactly. So what the fuck is that about? I don't get that. But it's like the WoW Classic players are like, oh, you know what? This could do with some updates. It's definitely missing some features. And you're like, a Blizzard not just like play the modern game. What the fuck is your problem, you fucking idiot? All right, we're gonna sell you something else again because you're that fucking stupid.
They'll just turn around and say, don't you all have the up-to-date game? That's what they're going to turn around and say to everyone in a packed conference hall.
I don't get that logic. It just seems I'm not a WoW player. None of us are WoW players, right? It's Frank. I do know one that's pretty hardcore, you know, somebody I work with, but I'll ask him. You know, I get feedback for the next podcast because I just don't get that. It's very strange, very, very strange. There's another expansion for Hearthstone. Again, no fucks were given here. And then. What do you want? And then they've done the Blizzard Arcade Collection, which I looked at because it's out now and it's on consoles as well. It's like three arcade games they produced, and I looked at them and went, "Yep, never heard of any of them. What are these?" I mean, Richard, you're my hope on that. Maybe you've heard of some of these arcade, the Lost Vikings, Rock and Roll Racing, and Blackthorn. Does any of those names mean anything to you?
No.
Okay.
I've heard of Rock and Roll Racing, but I don't know.
I might have heard of them.
Yeah, but
have you?
Yeah, shut up. Piss off, Rob. Come on. I'm not an oldie. I'm a young whippersnapper. That's what you said earlier. I actually said that, but you agreed.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's difficult because it's like I'd probably get, you know, they do QuakeCon every year, so the stuff that comes out of that interests me. I get excited about that because it's id, and I get it. You know, it's Quake and Doom and stuff like that, right? So this is that, but for Blizzard, which I have very little affinity for. I do like Diablo. I am looking forward to a new Diablo, and I would be tempted, if it reviews well, to check out a Diablo 2 remake. But I'm not going to get excited about it. So it's just one of those things.
The thing I'm quite liking about the Blizzard Arcade Collection is that you can play each game in its original form or the definitive mode with like the new cutting edge features like the ability to save. So yeah, I don't think this is going to go particularly well for fans, well, people who aren't already fans of the game. Even Arthur's not liking it. Like, you can see him down there.
Well, I mean, I think it's interesting. There was very little said there about the absolute clusterfuck that was the Warcraft 3 remaster, which pissed off a lot of fans, like on a massive layer. And if you are interested in that, I do recommend looking into it a little bit. But like to basically, the concept that was sold was completely missed, and they didn't even get anywhere near what was promised that this was going to be. And you know, the concern is that's what we're going to see with Diablo 2. Though I feel like they've managed the expectations considerably better this time. But yeah, so that brings us to the end of the news. Unless there's any little bits you guys wanted to throw out before we move into the Game Pass Club.
One glaring omission from that BlizzCon or Blizzard stuff was Overwatch. No real news on that, which surprised me.
They showed another teaser, didn't they?
Did they?
Did they?
I don't know.
I don't know. Neither do I. I've closed the link.
so had I.
The other thing I wanted to quickly mention, I guess we should mention, is there was a Nintendo Direct this week. I am not a Nintendo fan, really. I did glance through what was announced, which wasn't much. I mean, the big thing, I guess, was Splatoon 3.
Definitely,
but
yeah.
I don't really care. Richard?
The biggest thing that I'd look forward to is Mario Golf. But I have
Mario Golf are really good. That is a very good point. Yeah. Go on, Richard. Tell me why I'm wrong about Splatoon 3.
Well, I can't, can I? You've played it enough. You know whether you like it or not. If you don't, then there's nothing I can tell you.
I did like it. I thought it was cool. I really liked the kind of the non-aggressive nature of, you know, a shooter. The way that game plays. I love the painting the ground mechanics so that you can traverse quicker is super creative. Really, really
genius. Cool. I mean, it's not
really
just
clever.
It's not just a Nintendo thing of shying away from violence. I mean, it's cool because it does that, but it also feels different to anything else with the solutions that they bring, as you say, traveling through the paint. And just using that as the metric of how you win rather than how many kills you get. It's not like anything else, really. So I really enjoy Splatoon. And
so my switch is the Splatoon 2. My favourite thing is the fact that the Joy-Cons are really cool colours on my Splatoon 2. They're like this neon green and pink, which are really nice Joy-Cons. Yeah, they're nice, aren't they? It's a good game. Yeah. It's a good game, and I was talking to a big Nintendo fan this week who does do some game coverage for a Nintendo-focused video game website, and he pointed out something to me that I kind of had no idea about. There is a fairly active and large Splatoon 2 competitive esports scene, which I had no idea about, and it was just like, but why would I? I'm not really in that community, and that's the thing about games now. Even though we talk about and cover a lot of games, we definitely have our biases. We definitely have our console preferences. So yeah, that's why, you know, this Blizzard stuff and the Nintendo stuff has maybe got a short shrift from us a little bit. But, you know, at the same time, we can't be expected to be excited about everything. You know, it's kind of like we try, but I mean, Splatoon 3, I'm sure it'll be good. I have no doubt it will be a good game.
For fans of Splatoon, I'm sure it's going to be an absolute hit. So if you like Splatoon, look forward to Splatoon 3. You know, it's
I'm hoping it's a bit different. I'm hoping it's different because the trailer lent towards the single player aspect of Splatoon, which I don't think the first game had very much of at all.
There's nothing in 2, is there?
Really? Well, there is in the DLC.
Oh, okay. Didn't get
the DLC is entirely single player focused. And it's really good. So I hope there's more of that. I think that would be a nice new angle for it to take, because you could bring those mechanics that still feel fresh and fun, and just do something different with them, which is it's a bit lost in the multiplayer scene, isn't it? If that's not what you want to do at that time, a lot of people just want to play a single player experience, and Splatoon's got a lot of tricks up its sleeves that haven't been utilised properly in single player format. So we'll see.
Okay, right.
that does bring us to the end of the news. I think it's time for
I
our
think so.
topic. Our
Game Pass Club. Game Pass Club. Game
Club.
Pass Club. Game Pass Club. Game Pass Club. Game Pass Club. We need a little. I might try and find some music
No.
for this. I might try and find some music for this. It won't
Music,
be that.
yes, thank God.
Maybe I'll just loop that now. I'll capture that and I'll just loop that through the segment. Game Pass Club. Game Pass Club. Game Pass Club. Yeah, not drive you mad. No,
Bit of
enjoy that.
reverb on it.
Yeah, a little bit of reverb, a little bit of echo. I can do some pitch stuff.
I'm
and,
sorry,
yeah, it'll be fun.
audience. I'm sorry. Anyway.
And I think we need to let Richard lead on this because this game played a fairly large part in the Game of the Year deliberations, and Richard was the big proponent for it. So I think Richard, lead us into the discussion of Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
It's unfortunate this. So anyone that's listened to the Game of the Year show, you're going to hear this again. Sorry, guys, but that's the way it crumbles because we've left it so long. We'll have to do better next time.
I wasn't dying of COVID. Rob wasn't dying of COVID. I'm just saying, brother.
It's not Richard's fault for dying of COVID.
As a group, part of us was dying of COVID, so it's our fault.
Oh, okay. I see how it is. Great. All right. Come on then, Survivor.
Yeah, so the next one, just get my excuses in now, that will be before the next Game of the Year, won't it? We'll do another one soon.
Hopefully in 2 weeks. But we'll talk about that in a bit. But go on, Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
Ori and the Will of the Wisps is the second game in the series. It's a 2D platformer from Microsoft Game Studios, and is it Moon Studios is the developer? It's really good. I mean, that's the short version. As a sequel, I really like that it builds on the original, which is like a 2D Metroidvania style platformer with great graphics, beautiful animation, luxurious soundscapes. I really like the music in this game. And the sequel does it all a little bit better. So whereas the first game has, I suppose, famously touching entrance, like the first 20 minutes has a bunch of people crying. This one doesn't do that, but it does take you on an emotional journey towards the end, and really has a crescendo as its finale, and really does a good job of like building up to that rather than blowing everything in the first half hour. It also has more of I suppose hub world setup, so you've got a main area that you go back to and you develop. You can buy stuff to upgrade the area that people live in and make it better for them, enable yourself to get to new areas by doing that, and it just feels more lived in, somewhere that you want to be rather than just a series of screens that you're walking around in. And I mean, basically that's it. I spent quite a good chunk of time finishing this so we could talk about it. I don't think you two have got that far in it though, have you? Where have you guys got to?
I had to walk away because it angered me.
Why did it anger you?
First of all, the game is beautiful. I think actually the best looking game I've ever played, I think. Like, it's another level. It's absolutely gorgeous. Like, whoever was in charge of like the art direction on that, you deserve all the awards, right? The platforming, it was painfully early on because I was enjoying a part of it up to a point. The aesthetic of it was keeping me engaged and keeping me going. Storyline wasn't hitting any emotional notes for me because I have no real connection with the characters because I haven't played the first one. So it was like, it's this trio. Fair enough, let's see where this goes. With the weird ball with arms and legs. I've no idea what the hell he is. After you get little light blade, there's that little section where you have to jump up and along the walls. No, couldn't do it. Could not do it. I tried for half an hour on that section alone, and I almost threw my controller through my television. And I couldn't.
What difficulty were you playing on?
Normal.
I've been playing it on easy.
Are you sure that you needed to go up that bit? Because it does introduce you to platforms that you can't reach yet. That's Metroidvania in a nutshell, really.
Because sometimes I would make it up there and then get killed.
Oh, okay.
I had to walk away from it, which really saddened me.
I'm still dubious. I mean, I'd like to see the bit that you're stuck on, but there was one issue I had with this game, and that was in one of the later areas. There's a water section, and there's a series of traps that descend as you go under them. And some of these traps you can travel fast enough to outrun them. So, fairly regular platforming trope, isn't it? But this one, you couldn't, and it would almost 100% of the time, almost, it would just crush you as soon as you went under. But one time I lucked out. I found that this technique of you could swim under one, and then get in a gap between that and the next one, and then sort of keep doing U-shaped loops until you got to the end. That is not intended to be allowed. So I got through to a section that you're not supposed to be in, and it was literally impossible to progress because you're supposed to have another power to get through that bit that you need for the next section. So yeah, I wonder if you were meant to be where you got to.
So you get the light blade from the tree, and there is a passage off to the right. You go up, and you come back, and it drops you down on the tree again.
I'm not sure this is the right discussion.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, what the point is, I guess, is that it's not for Rob, is it? I can appreciate that.
I'm just surprised that's not memorable to me. So it's something
I don't remember that. I didn't do that long ago.
Very easily.
I was struggling with other bits with the jumps, but I was always managing to then make them after repetitions. That sort of platforming is just not my ability.
Do you realise that there are moves in this game? Maybe you should use one of those.
So let's talk about. Let me sum that up for you. Let me sum it up for you there, Rob. Get good. Have you heard of Get Good?
Yeah,
right. No. So I think the visual, some of the visual language is something I had an issue with. So basically, this is a very, very, very precise platformer at times. But the way in which the environment is presented in this very organic, very beautiful way doesn't always convey how precise it expects you to play the game. Now,
I wouldn't say it's very precise. I mean, it's not.
It's getting there. I was literally going to equate it to Super Meat Boy because Super Meat Boy is again a very precise platformer. But I really enjoy Super Meat Boy because it shows you very clearly what hazards are and what hazards aren't. So where you can go and where you can't go at all times because you're expected to traverse those levels very rapidly. And there are parts, however, of Ori that do expect very quick transitions and traversal. However, it's not always clear what you need to do. And that definitely frustrated me. And I definitely got stuck because there's definitely elements and stuff to do with, say, moving around like blocks and things like that aren't always... It's certainly not conveyed that it's something you can do. To start with. So you have to kind of just hopefully luck upon it, see the prompt, I can grab this and move it. And it's like, that is not actually sort of conveyed to you very clearly. Now, maybe it's a mechanic that came across from the first game, therefore it's expecting you to bring that knowledge because of playing the first game. However, I barely played the first game. So I didn't have that language. I didn't have that understanding of the systems at play. And it comes up a few times and I find that is frustrating and that is unfair because there's going to be a lot of gamers that pick up this one over the other one now on Game Pass because it's enhanced, whereas the previous one isn't enhanced. So you're going to check this one out because I'm going to show off the system, and boy, does it. I mean, I was predominantly playing it actually on my screen here because I have the 120 frames option here and I wanted to see how damn fine that felt, and it did feel great. I mean, the accuracy of the movement and the feedback at 120 was just insane. And it's very noticeable in a platformer like this, and it really was stunning to play in that regard. However, I think the beauty of the game and the movement of the game is great, but the actual kind of core game, I've played so many more Metroidvanias that I've enjoyed more than this. Like Axiom Verge is a far more enjoyable game to me, and I don't know if it's the setting, I don't know if it's the style, because this just doesn't click with me in that way. But it's weird because, like, if I'm objective and you stand back and you look at it, you go, oh my god, this is stunning. Everything about this, the audio, the visuals, you know, the character models. I guess that's one thing I don't like. I am not a big fan of anthropomorphized characters. I find that trait really boring. And because I never had that connection to 3D platformers when I grew up, that's just not what I grew up on. I know it is what you grew up on, Richard. So there is there is that connection.
You're
Whereas to me,
a lot of what I'm going to say.
I'm
make
sorry.
The same point that I grew up with sort of Mega Drive platformers.
Yeah.
So anthropomorphized characters is very much in my wheelhouse, and this feels like sort of the natural extension of 16-bit games.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Whereas to me, this is just Disneyfication, and like it just feels it's dark and mysterious bit with the but actually it's a misunderstood thing, and it's like you need to do this. Like, trope on trope on trope, and it's just that none of that does anything for me. Whereas Axiom Verge felt very fresh and different, and like but grounded and realistic. I keep going back to that one annoyingly because I know you haven't actually played it, Richard, and you would love that game.
I have.
You have played Axiom Verge. Oh god, I thought you hadn't. Was it recent you played it? I remember talking about it with you and you hadn't played it. So
a couple of months ago I tried it, but I sort of bounced off it. I need to go back. So
really good.
The thing with this, I think you're right about the mechanics and how they're introduced. That's a difficult thing for sequels, isn't it?
Yeah.
How much do you put your loyal players who've played the first one to death, how much do you put them through all of that tutorial stuff again? How much can you strip back to make it as little chaff as possible for them to just get into it and enjoy it, but still get new people on board? And maybe they haven't got that balance quite right from what you're saying.
Having some sort of option saying, have you played Ori and the Blind Forest? Yes or no. I think having that as an option, and then not having certain tips appear at different points.
That would be an easy way of doing it. Clumsy, but easy. I mean, I think that's possibly something that might have come across their minds, but they put the beauty in the presentation of this game so high at the top of the list of importance, and it's clearly that sort of compromise might not be something they were willing to do. I mean, there was a whole early bit on where there was this block I was meant to move to do something. I had no idea about that block, so I ended up doing this thing without the block, and somehow found a way to do it without it. Because I had no idea, and I only found out. I don't know how. And I found out. I ran through the walkthrough. And he goes, like earlier, because I got stuck on a later bit. Like earlier, you used the block to do the thing, and I was like, "What? I've never used a block in my life. What are you talking about? Use the block to do the thing? I didn't know you could do that." And it was just like, "Oh shit, okay, that makes things easier." And the bits I did enjoy about this game, when you finally get past the tricky bit and you get that power up, and then all of a sudden that opens up possibilities for you. And and then the best bit, the bit I enjoy about this game is when you're just running through screen after screen, going as far as you can until you hit an inevitable wall, which is going to require either a pickup or a power up or something to get through. But then it opens up and you're exploring, because exploring in this game is joyous. Finding new areas and new screens and new characters and new
chancing
things.
Upon the secret areas too. There's loads of those.
Oh yeah, that is the bit that's so much fun in a Metroidvania. But it's the bits there where you hit that wall. And for the life of you, you're backtracking, you're looking, you're searching, and you just don't seem to be getting anywhere for like half an hour. And that's where you bounce off. That's where Rob bounces off. That's where I would bounce off. And it's just like, that's not fun. That bit isn't fun. And it's like the balance between discovering that stuff and giving you that freedom, and then the challenge of getting it is the tricky bit. And I feel like at times in this, it's more challenging than it needs to be. I didn't find. I mean, like I said, I was playing the game on easy, right? So the combat therefore was piss easy. Like I killed every enemy almost instantly because I wasn't playing it for that. I was playing it because I wanted to experience the story, the puzzles and stuff like that. And yeah, I was still hitting walls, and it was just like, and the reason I played on easy because when I played the previous game on medium, it was like, holy crap, this is hard. Like I was dying so often. So yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like the balance isn't quite there, and I was quite a defender of this in Game of the Year discussions because I was trying to be objective about it and come at it from a sort of removed point of view. But where we're talking about it here, after playing it again, I must have put another couple of hours in. I don't know, man. It's just not for me. I think I'm in the same camp as Rob on this, and it's just a mixture of.
I respect.
I don't know if that's so much the game though, as it is you guys.
Oh, 100%.
Not criticism. It's more about you're not really into platformers, because as a platform lover, I don't think this is particularly challenging. It's not that hard at all, really. And if it was made much easier than it is, I think that would be to its detriment. So your experience,
I found that quite challenging.
I love hard platformers though. Give me Super Meat Boy. Give me Celeste. Give me that. When you put hard platforming in games like that, where it's very clear what is hard and why it's hard, I really enjoy that. You know, in the instant restarts and the brief encapsulated levels. But when it's expansive like this, I don't know, man. Give me a Shadow Complex or an Axiom Verge, and I'd rather play that than this. I just find something about the setting, something about how it's presented doesn't convince me that it should have been designed from a challenging, hard perspective first, but more from a exploration and discovery perspective.
I don't think it is hard. I mean, it surprises me that you think it's that hard. I just don't think it is. But
I didn't find it wasn't so much the.
I think it comes from playing the first game. That's its downside. If you really need to play the first game for this game to feel natural, then that's a failing, isn't it? To me, it was easy to get into and easy to flow through, apart from that one area I mentioned earlier, because I'd managed to get through somewhere that I wasn't supposed to. I then thought, well, how am I supposed to get there then?
you sequence broke the game. Yeah.
Yeah. So that bit broke for me, but other than that, I thought it was fine. Maybe that's the recommendation then. Anyone that hasn't tried it yet, maybe try the first one first. They're not particularly long either.
I would still recommend this game in a heartbeat to anyone who's going, I really like platformers now. I like really pretty games. Ori, go now. Like that's exactly what I would recommend. So it's still hugely positive. It's still a great game. It's just not my personal preference. That's all.
No, that's fair. No, actually, I think it's a great example of the genre. I think it's a great example of what the system can do and how well games can run on the new hardware and
really high production
and stuff like that. It's just
isn't it? I mean, there aren't many people still doing really high production 2D platformers. You tend to find that they're indie productions now, don't you? So it's great to see that.
Tell you another thing I don't like about anthropomorphized characters. They always talk like this. Oh, it's like, fuck off. Either make them silent or do it in English.
It's different because it's much deeper and slow motion now, isn't it? In Ori, it's
yeah, you're right. But basically, just gibberish. It's just like, this is annoying. I find that so annoying. Just like, stop talking in Simlish. Talk in English or Spanish. Make it a real language. I don't care. Just make it a real language. French. I would take all those characters in French. That would be cool. I would dig that.
Probably not for the French.
That would fit. Yeah, probably not. Right, so what we now need to decide, it's my pick technically, but I have a short list I wanted to talk to you guys about next time for 2 weeks. Because I wanted to give you a little bit of a selection. And I've gone across some really different, four really different games here. Yeah, en petit selection. There you go. We don't have a lot of French listeners, we're fine, don't worry. Right. No, we certainly don't have any now.
I was going to say, we don't anymore.
I have my baguette and I smoke my cigarette.
Oh, man.
And there goes the last one. Yeah, anyway, back to your selection.
I'm going to start with Black, which is a very interesting game by EA and Criterion.
You've already got rid of the French. Don't carry on. The game. Right, I see.
So this is on Game Pass. This is an original Xbox game. And I don't mean an Xbox One game or a 360 game. I mean an original... Yeah, this is so confusing. I hate Xbox for doing this with names. But an original Xbox game. Shut up. Right, so this is a first-person shooter. This is hyperkinetic. Like, I don't know. When was... Richard, you've played this, I would assume. But when was the last time you played this?
Not that long ago.
Oh, really?
When it came out on Back Compat, I think I bought it.
I picked it up as well, but it's on Game Pass now, and it's because it's part of the EA Play, merger. But I haven't played it. I haven't played it since probably God, 10 years, like a really long time. And I'd be curious to see what Rob thought of this, as he only likes good shooters.
Oh, for God's sake!
But that's great, because I put this on this list before that had even happened. So now I'm really curious. But it's got a lot of enhancements. It's been nicely beefed up to look pretty good, I think, on the new hardware and stuff, and it runs nice.
No,
not so much.
No.
Okay,
Well,
okay. Curious.
I played it pre Series X. I played it on a 1X. And it was the first time I played it, so I wasn't looking through rose-tinted glasses or anything. And does not.
You'd never played it before?
No.
Oh wow, that must have been
That's
curious.
That's why I bought it, because I thought this was a big title that I really should have played back in the day. Let's buy that and see what it was all about. But yeah, it has aged really badly.
So that's my first suggestion. Second suggestion is one we have brought up before, and I know Rob's a bit on the fence about this, but boy oh boy is it an exemplar of a game from the 360 generation. So we're moving forward in time here. We're talking about Dead Space, the first Dead Space game. Rob's not a huge fan of horror games, and I do appreciate that. I understand that. However, this is also, you play on easy thing, that's fine, and it becomes much more of an action game. It has scary moments, definitely, and it has an interesting kind of almost cross between third person and early Resident Evil camera view in the first particular Dead Space. It is sort of partially pulled back isometric, where it becomes much more conventional third person in 2 and 3. It obviously has the incredible sort of limb destruction mechanics in the combat, so I think that would be interesting again to run by Rob. And this is obviously a game me and Richard have obviously already played a lot of, so it'd be more of a interesting discussion with Rob in that regard. So ruminate on that. Then we're going to move on to another one now, where I don't think either of you have played this, but I have played this.
Before you move on to the next one, can I just throw a slight curveball? Would you consider changing it to Dead Space 2? Because I think that's the best of the series.
I do too, but I think it would be really harsh on someone like Rob to go straight into 2 without 1, especially when you're talking about how deep the lore is and the universe is. So without having the setup of the Ishimura and Isaac Clarke and all of that, and straight into 2 would be confusing. From where I remember that game going.
But any good sequel should stand on its own and not require the predecessor to be able to play and understand.
I don't necessarily.
And I think it does.
I do agree with that. I do agree and I don't agree. That's tricky. That is tricky, because we just had that discussion, didn't we, about Ori? So it's kind of like, it's a valid point, but at the same time, that is hard to say.
I think it works on its own, Rob, but the first one has so much in there that it would be a shame to miss out on it, even though the second one.
Even though Rob will only play 45 minutes of either game, probably.
If it's
before
good,
he's like, too scary.
If it's good, I'll keep playing.
Play it with the lights on. So good.
I played Ori. Just to quickly backtrack, I played Ori with the lights off.
That must be crazy good.
Oh, wow.
I played that with my, I've got my smart lights in my living room. I played that with the light sync, so you get all the purples and stuff glowing on the walls. That was beautiful.
Nice. That's cool, man. Next one, I have played some of. Not a huge amount, but I played some of because I picked it up at launch. But it's now on Game Pass, and it's an interesting one because it's an Xbox Series X game. It's the Falconeer, or Falconeer. It's a flying game, bit like Rogue Squadron in that regard, but over like a flooded sea world. Interesting visual style, quite difficult actually in places, but a bit different. You don't get a lot of games like this, so that's why I threw this on the list. So you guys both seemed quite interested then, as I mentioned that. And then finally another game, Xbox Series X game. I was very impressed with the demo of this that came out in the summer demo thing they did last year, and I haven't got around to actually playing this now that it's on Game Pass. And that's this kind of like co-op, but you don't have to play it in co-op. You can play it with someone, or you don't have to at all. And it's Haven, which is the game the guys that behind the Fury Boss Rush game have now made, which has got a really interesting look to it, really interesting art style, interesting combat mechanics, and what really impressed me in the demo was the very naturalistic dialogue between the two characters, who are like an established couple. It's not about a meet cute, it's not about falling in love, it's about two people marooned on a planet who are in love, and the stresses on the relationship and how they deal with that, as well as exploring the world and fighting the alien beasties they find there and stuff as well, with some kind of like co-op but not co-op combat gameplay. So it completely works by yourself, but you can also do it with someone else. So yeah, that's my little short list. I'm up for any of them. So, what do you guys think? What would you like to look at most?
I would lean to Falconeer personally, but it is your pick at the end of the day.
Sure. Yeah. Rob, that's you. Richard.
Yes.
Too many R's, man. Two people with the same R names in the same. It's hard. It's hard, Richard.
Dead Space is a big franchise for me. I love it, but
I mean, we've been talking about doing something about Dead Space for bloody years.
I know it's difficult to know where to start, though, isn't it? I've still got mileage left in 2 and 3, but 1, I feel like I've exhausted that because I've finished it a few times. I don't know. I suppose off that list, Falconeer is the most easily accessible, and if Rob's up for that, yeah,
very much so. But
yeah, I think it's an interesting. I think it'll be interesting because you guys are completely green. I'm mostly green. I've only put a few hours in, so I'm willing to definitely play some more of it. It is a it's an interesting one because it's a completely unique world, and it's been made by basically one guy. So it's a proper indie game, but at the same time, the production values, the scope of it is quite expansive and quite impressive. So I'd be curious to have a discussion with you guys about it and dig a bit deeper into it and really talk about it. So I'm absolutely up for that. Yeah, up for the Falconeer. It's a quick download, not a huge file, and I know it's new, so there might be a bit more interest there than rather going all the way back to Dead Space. So yeah, Falconeer then. 2 weeks.
Excellent. I've managed to dodge the horror game bullet once again.
Yes, you have. I think me and Richard need to do something with Dead Space. We need to do something, the two of us. So
yeah,
I think that's it. So before we wrap up things, what have you guys been playing? Did you want to touch on any of the games you've been having to go at this week? I've got Pistol. I've got Destiny 2. That's it. So you guys go.
You suck. I've been back to Control because Control Ultimate Edition's come out. To my surprise, I knew they were charging separately for it. Obviously, I bought it separately, like a fool. But I didn't realise it was a completely separate game. I loaded it up thinking I'll just crack back into my old save and do the DLC, which I also bought separately and saved up. Play it on the Ultimate Edition. Turns out it's a completely separate release, so you got to start all over again. So I've been playing Control a lot. I've 100%ed the Ultimate Edition with all the DLC. I've got every achievement. I then went back to the original Control and did all the DLC on that to get all the achievements in that. So
Jesus Christ. It is an incredible game. Do you want to know something crazy in relation to Control? Rob, Richard, do you want to know something crazy? News story from last week. I think the week before. I didn't bring it up because I know Rob would go off on one. But Remedy last year had their best financial year ever, and they didn't release a game.
Well, yes, because they were milking their current player base. There I go, going off on one.
And there we go. And there we go. That's what I was expecting there from Rob. And there we go. But, I mean, that is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's that crazy. Isn't that mad? They didn't bring out a game, but they had their best financial results of all time. That is an impressive con that they have perpetrated upon the gaming community.
100%.
I mean, it's
you always got to tip the hat. Capitalist hat here. Well done.
Well, it's worked out for them. It's a good job on an achievement wall because at least I can justify the purchase that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've enjoyed going through it again. Have you done the DLC?
No.
So I'm worse. I'm worse than you, Richard. I'm worse than you because I've bought this game.
Bought both and finished neither.
Correct.
Idiot.
I haven't even started the new edition. I haven't even started the Ultimate Edition, mate. It's just sat on my hard drive, like taking up space, taunting me. I don't know if I can bring myself to do it because it's like I'm not like you. I think what I'll have to do is I'll have to start again on Ultimate Edition. I think the only DLC I haven't done is the Alan Wake one, so I just need to go through, get to that, beat the whole thing. I'm not like you. I'm not looking to make 1,000 game score. I do love that game. It is genuinely one of the best games, that came out in 2019. Easily, like the best game, our game of the year, without a doubt. It's just very unfortunate, as we've talked about many times, what 505 and Remedy did with the releases. Yeah. Just Just
It's
grim.
about-
Just
yes.
grim. But
When
we
you
are the
get-
problem, Richard. We
When
are
you get to
the
Yes.
that
problem.
Alan Wake DLC, yeah, you're right. I feel bad about doing it, but never mind.
Both
So,
of you are why
When you
they've
get
been
to the
able
Alan
do it.
Wake DLC, I wonder if you'll enjoy it or whether you'll find it frustrating because it works towards. Are you an Alan Wake fan, Rob?
No.
Okay, you won't
Horror
get this
game.
reference. But on the map for the Alan Wake DLC, there's a Bright Falls area. You think, oh, I can't wait to get to Bright Falls. How is that going to look? And it's really underwhelming. I won't spoil it for you, but it's really not what you expect. So I just felt that whole DLC was a disappointment. There's some nice moments in it, but doesn't deliver anywhere near what I expected it to. But what's interesting is that, and I hadn't clocked this at the time, but apparently Sam Lake's made some announcement last year that they're working towards a unified, a sort of Remedy universe.
Yep, that's what it is. That's what
there will be a crossover game of some description in 2022, I think, but I don't know what it's going to be. Whether it's going to be Alan Wake 2 or Control 2 or some.
I haven't. Obviously, I haven't played the DLC yet. I just said that, but the impression I got after hearing that and news from Sam Lake was that this DLC is basically Sam Jackson showing up at the end of Iron Man. So it's a case of here is a nod to the wider thing we're aiming for, but it's not a lot of actual anything
yet.
Yeah,
it's
it's just here is the potential of the future. And I'm fine with that. I think if you're going to start moving in that direction, having something like that makes a lot of sense. I would be pumped to see Control and Alan Wake coming together in a new game of some kind, maybe even like a co-op experience where you can be Jesse and Alan and stuff like that. I'd like to see them work Quantum Break in there, but I don't think they're going to. I think it kind of doesn't fit as well with those two games. I don't think QB kind of meshes with the universe as well, but those two will be enough, and then expand from there. Even if you have a third IP and then you could have Jesse and Alan show up in it, that would also be cool. So there's just I think it's a fascinating universe, and I think they make quality games that have a really unique feel to them.
They are interesting, and it is one of those where the pickups are actually you want to read them, and
everything. I read everything in that game. Can't remember the last time I did that. Read everything I picked up. I very rarely do that now.
That's one of the things the Alan Wake DLC is really good for, despite some of the what you actually see in the game. There's less there than I wanted there to be, but in terms of the lore, it's still interesting. It starts to talk about how Alan Wake, who's been trapped from the end of the Alan Wake game for the past 10 years, he's been trapped in Cauldron Lake. How Control might be a work of fiction by Alan Wake.
Oh,
a way of getting himself out. It's really fascinating.
That's a fairly major spoiler there, Richard, by the way.
No, it talks about it fairly early on. It's not like...
Yeah, but I mean, in the DLC, which you're not going to play until you beat the whole fucking game. But anyway.
Well, for someone who's not played a minute of Control, that's a massive fucking spoiler.
But I do love that. I mean, that fits into the Alan Wake universe so wonderfully. That is amazing. Okay. That makes me want to play it more, though. So, yeah, I'm going to need to do it. What about you, Rob? You've been playing a weird sounding game that is weird.
Well, I've been playing Destiny 2 because actually it was during this week that I took you on an exotic quest through a...
Oh, yeah, we did do that. Yes, that was very good.
Floating in space.
Okay, that's worth talking about because that quest wasn't really like anything else I'd played in Destiny.
No.
So it felt like they're building to something wider there.
Oh, yes.
I then spent a lot of time with the gun out of it that we got out of it. It's all right. I don't love it, but it's okay. It's a pretty good exotic.
We need to run it again to farm it because you can get a random roll for it.
Okay, and it might make it more interesting.
Yeah, because it will have a different perk. Like the base intrinsic perk will remain the same, but it will get an additional one that will be different.
I mean, we first timed the boss. We did really well, I think, when we played that. We did really well in that quest, just the two of us. So there's like the connection there to the darkness and what it is. There's some really interesting little bits in that quest, and it's not just oh, read these fucking lore cards,
No.
which is how you get the grimoire stuff now. They've actually kind of brought it back in a weird way, the grimoire cards. But like it's actual, story through experience, through environment and character, which is nice to have in Destiny. And it was just different and creepy and really weird feeling and scary and cool and it was
really good. I really enjoyed it. I went through with a guide. There was lots of platforming in that, like puzzles involving burning walls that you couldn't pass through and that sort of thing, to get a scout rifle at the end of it. And it's just really, really good. It's focused on a ship floating in space near the reef that's gone dark. And there is a Guardian signal on board that you need to go and get to because they were there. You need to go and find out what's happened. And it's not pretty what's happened. It's not pretty at all. Verging on very, very soft, very, very light horror territory. Very soft. Like, super soft.
It's that whole...
Compared to something like Dead Space, super soft. But for Destiny, quite dark.
Yes.
So it was very, very good. It was a very, very fun mission to go through.
Cool.
So,
and this other thing on your list?
It's Bloons Tower Defense 6. It's a tower defense game where monkeys throw darts at balloons. It's brainless fun that I play whilst I'm lying in bed with something on Netflix.
Question.
Oh dear. Yes.
So are the balloons attacking the monkeys?
I believe so, yes. Why, I don't know. There's not exactly storylines in this game.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to be clear. That's strange. Sounds very trippy. And Richard, you went back to a game that you helped do the review with me on, the review discussion. I think you picked it up in the sale, but you've now beaten it. What did you think of it? Tell me about Superliminal.
Superliminal is on sale this week, so it's topical. It costs about £10 in the sale, which I would say is worth it. It's a fairly short 3D perspective puzzle game. So the idea is it covers a bunch of ideas, but it starts out with you picking up objects. Depending on where you are looking, that object is projected into the distance or into the near field. And when you drop it...
Really hard to describe this game.
It's weird, isn't it? So
Rob's like, what are you saying?
That doesn't make any sense, does it? Think of the Father Ted thing.
Not really.
Big cow, little cow. If it's far away.
Yes, that's it. Brilliant. That's the reference. Yes.
Okay.
So if
Rob's never seen Father Ted.
You've successfully managed to solve something with a reference that I have not seen.
Okay. Imagine you're holding an object in front of you. If your hand wasn't there and you just saw it against the background, you might imagine that it's an object that is far away. Okay. Now in this game, when you drop an object against a distant background, it drops far away. If you drop it near to you, if you drop it on the floor in front of you, it becomes much bigger because it's at the scale that you dropped it there, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So there's a bunch of really interesting perspective puzzles based on that mechanic and developing into a sequence of others. And it's really inventive. So there's about, I think, 9 levels. I don't think that they explore distinct ideas within them. It sort of evolves on different themes. But... and it's not too difficult where you're absolutely stumped, but just enough where you think you're pretty smart for having solved it. It's got that balance.
It's Portal-esque, isn't it, in that regard? It's got a Portal vibe to it. Yeah, like experimental rooms almost, and
yeah. So you're ostensibly in some sort of experiment with a voiceover following you around all the time to tell you where you are or where you're not. You can break out of the intended course into sort of rooms and corridors that you're perhaps not meant to be in. So it does feel like Portal, very much so. But yeah, the perspective stuff, it's really inventive, isn't it, Ben? How
I loved it.
It sort of confounds your expectations. You think you've cracked it, and then it will do something slightly different than you thought. It's really clever. So yeah, worth a tenner of anyone's money. Have a go.
Yeah, it's a really cool game. It's got a bit of Stanley Parable about it as well. Unreliable situations, unreliable narration, and lots of like head scratchy. But like you said, it's that balance with the puzzle where when you get it, you feel like you would, nailed it. I'm smart. It's just like,
the less you've heard about it, the better. Because I did get stumped early on, having spoken to you about it, and I think there was, it might not have been you, but I'd heard there was a puzzle involving an exit sign, and having to align the exit sign properly so a door became an exit or something like that. And
I don't think that was me, but I do know the puzzle you're referring to.
There's a puzzle early on that isn't anything to do with that, but it does give you an exit sign or access to one. I thought, oh, this is that exit sign, and I just got stuck in it for ages because I was overthinking it. But actually, it does introduce things in a logical way. You just don't want to go in with preconceptions, which is kind of the whole point of the game, isn't it? It's just look at everything from
I think
it's every possible perspective and don't get locked into one solution.
The big difference between this and Portal and Stanley Parable is that visually, what's going on with these puzzles is often absolutely freaking insane, and it's really kind of mad and surreal, absolutely surreal, and therefore it's actually really engaging because it isn't just a mind, working out a mind puzzle like The Witness, which was a lot of like very simple looking puzzles, but it was all about a lot was about working stuff out in your head, where this is just like this shit is bonkers. It's because it's got this dream setting, so they just completely get around any kind of reality restraint, which is amazing. Like really, really good fun, really cool.
It pulls the rug out from you in so many different ways. I mean, standard things like there is a corridor, walk down it. Oh, it's not a corridor; it's a painting of a corridor on a wall, or things like that.
Yeah.
You don't know whether anything is real.
Nothing is real. We live in a construct.
There is actually a reality shaping theory that we live in a computer simulation, but I'm not going to get into that now.
I know. Talk to Elon Musk.
Yeah.
So I think that covers the games and stuff we've been playing this week. Just give him hey Elon, mate, what's up, my man?
Yeah, give him a call.
Yeah. So that's the games we've been playing this week. That's the news we've been using this week, and we even did some Game Pass stuff, which is great. And we're going to be coming back in 2 weeks with another Game Pass title, which I've already forgotten. The Falconeer. We're going to do. I'm really excited about that. I can't wait to talk to you guys about that. I'm really glad they put that on Game Pass. I think that makes total sense. Having that game there. So So if you want to sort of join in, by all means, download that game ready. You feel free to send us some comments, put the comments against the video, or tweet us your thoughts on it, and we can maybe read them out on the show and add that to the discussion. That would be fun.
Well,
and then once again, sorry, they can, but let me just finish what I was saying. Yeah. And then once again, you can. And if you admit some ideas to Game Pass as well, like what we can play next time, because we've all had a go now, so it'd be great if we got some suggestions from the audience and stuff about what games you'd like us to check out together and then discuss in this feature. That'd be great. And that can all be sent to, here you go, Rob, this is what you were trying to line me up for. It can all be sent to @ExperienceKills on Twitter, and you can obviously find us, where you're probably watching this right now on YouTube, which is Experience Kills, and give us a like and subscribe on there. And you can also find me at DIYE on Twitter. You can find Rob at Homeless Mr. Gibbs, and you can find Richard at Colonel Red, which is still the best one out of the lot, I think. Twitter handles. I just like that. I've always liked Colonel Red. It's a good. Where does Colonel Red come from?
One of the bosses from the popular Mega Drive platforming game Gunstar Heroes.
Some deep shit. That is a cut and a half. Good on you. I like that. So until next time when we come back and discuss more fun things. We don't know what we're going to do with Cameron next week, but in 2 weeks we're back to talk about Falconeer. I'm looking forward to that. Have a lovely week. Play some games. Go out for a walk. I don't know. Maybe not just play games. Bye, guys. Bye.
I'm going for a run today. I'm going to do some exercise and lose my chubby cheeks. So a couple of weeks, hopefully these cheeks will be within the frame of my head shape and we'll have more of a triangular descent. So look out for that in 2 weeks.
Hashtag triangular descent, which sounds like a 1990s video game.
I think we found the tagline for the show. Right.